I don't know if you've figured this out yet or not, but school is not about education primarily. School is about compliance training. Education is just a front. It's just an excuse. It's the socially acceptable reason we paint on the front of it so that we don't feel so bad about going there or sending our children there. But surely it is compliance training. They start you out easy in grade school. The main thing they want is to get you comfortable with being outside of your family system. They want you to go to a different space under the authority of a different person and accept that for a number of hours. They want you to obey and listen to the orders of a person who's not your parent and treat them as though they are just as powerful, just as much of an authority as your own parents are. If you do wrong by them, you get in trouble, just like you might get in trouble with your parents. And your parents are complicit in the system because they're coerced by the system that you must educate your children, you must send them to school. So in this way, parents become agents of the state, pressuring their children, pushing them, saying you must go to school, and always making sure that they go. And if they resist and they fight and they don't get in on time, then the parents get angry. So in this way, parents become an agent of the state, pressuring the child into the system. And every year, the teacher gets replaced with a new teacher. So last year was this teacher, next year is this other teacher. So the child learns that the person in charge is interchangeable. So it doesn't matter who it is. It's not just a parent, someone familiar, someone with a biological claim over your experience, but anybody that the system designates. And you learn that you just assign authority to this person almost arbitrarily, just because the system has indicated that this is the person who will be in charge. And then you must sit quietly, you must pay attention, and you must perform tasks. You must do what you're told, fill out the homework, take the tests, read the passages. Whatever they tell you to do, you have to fall in lockstep. And they start you out easy, but it gets tougher. When you get older, you get into junior high and high school. Now it's not just one authority figure. Now it's many different authority figures as you go from class to class. And the hours are extended. I always noticed that, how the hours kept seeming to get longer and longer. So we are being trained because our natural state is not to be in this sort of arrangement. This is something that has to be taught to us and trained into us. And if you think back on school, all the things you learned, how much of it was really useful, like really important? You feel like you benefited a lot from learning it. Sure, there are some things. Basic math was always very useful. That's like a language of the gods. It really teaches us something about the fabric of the universe. That's very important. Reading can be, well, it is very important for understanding the world and what's going on, but remember, reading itself is a system of control. If you can't read, then it's harder to control you because nobody can just give you a pamphlet to read to get your instructions. No one can post a sign that you have to obey by reading the words on the sign. So illiteracy is sort of a type of freedom in a way, or at least it shields you from one of these very indirect and insidious forms of control, which is distributing written materials so that people will follow them as instructions. And what else? Some background about history maybe it was in the right direction, learning a bit about geography and stuff that could be useful. But a lot of these things, here's how you're supposed to learn. The natural way of learning is to encounter something that you're unfamiliar with and getting curious about it, saying, what's that? I don't understand that, or I'm not familiar with that. So then you go investigate, you look it up, you ask people, you figure out what's going on, you get an explanation, and you're like, wow, now I know about this thing. It's very compelling, it's very satisfying. Your own natural curiosity will drive you to learn about things. And then the next time the thing comes up, you recognize it and you say, oh yes, I learned that thing, and you feel proud of yourself. In contrast, school is not that way at all. In school, you are pressured, you are told what you must learn, seemingly arbitrary facts, arbitrary things. The teacher tells you, here's what we're going to study, here's what you have to learn, and you'd better learn it, because by the way, in a little while, I'm going to give you a test and make sure you've learned it. And if you can't demonstrate that you've learned it, I'm going to shame you. I'm going to punish you with a grade that's low, and your parents are going to be upset with you, and your peers are going to make fun of you and call you stupid, or and you're going to feel stupid. This shame-based pressure, all to force you to learn this arbitrary thing that you don't care about and you don't understand why it's useful. In many cases, it won't be useful because it's not the point. The point is not to educate you about facts, to build you up into some masterful person that knows all these subjects. That's how they want you to feel. That's what they want you to believe. You think everyone's contributing to you and your education, so you're building up and you'll be a strong and knowledgeable person. But what they're really doing is training you. What is the consistent part of this education system? It is showing up at a certain time and listening to instructions and obeying the authority and not causing trouble. What happens if you go against it? What happens if you cause some trouble? Well, you'll get sent to the principal's office. And then everybody will sort of get this fear, this anxiety. Oh, what's happening to him? He's going to the principal's office. He's in trouble. What could be happening to him? And so it fills everyone else with anxiety. That's another part of the education system, is that everybody's in it together. So they're sort of co-captors, and they see what's happening with each other. When each other gets in trouble, it sort of keeps the rest of them in line and fills them with fear. So what's the point of all of this? This is all compliance training, so that when you emerge from this over a decade of training, you'll be primed to slot into all these economic systems that we have to work for companies, to give your productive output to some system of authority and control that can really use your compliance and obedience. But more than that, they want to feel that sense of power, because people have this instinctual drive and desire to feel more powerful. They want to own people, tell people what to do. And there's way more desire for that than there is supply of people willing to give themselves over to power and be controlled. And that's why everybody has to be trained. The whole system trains us from when we're a very young child to just accept all of this as normal, so that when we get out there into the workforce, we are these compliant, docile people who are used to it as normal, willing to just follow instructions and obey what we're told. Now, I understand it does take a lot of cooperation to achieve big feats, to all productively work together on a goal, but it doesn't have to be this hierarchical structure of dominance. It can be purely cooperation. It can be everybody working together with a shared agenda. And in fact, those sort of tribal cooperation situations are more productive because everyone's more eager and more emotionally invested in the result. Whereas when you're in this hierarchical system of control, you're more just worried about not making your boss upset. So generally, you're just going to do the minimum to get by and not ruffle any feathers so you can kind of maintain your place. It's not so much about working together to fulfill the leader's goal, because it's not your goal. You're just there to obey and comply. So this is how I see it. I think this is what's going on. We're slowly trained with more and more pressure in the education system as we get older to prepare us for the workforce. It's not about like giving us skills and making us competent exactly. I mean, that's a nice side effect and bonus. The main effect is to make us compliant and obedient workers. So once you see it this way, I think you can never see it the old way again. Is there better ways? I'm sure there are much better ways, but this is the society we have. It's built on hierarchy and control. So we just have to accept it and deal with it the best we can. I don't think there's some big way that we can make a giant change, but what do you think?